The Berini Haunting, one of the most shocking poltergeist cases of recent times. A family was disturbed and terrified by a series of apparitions. The poltergeist activity took place in the late 1970s and early 1980s. It later became known to the world as the Berini Haunting. What began as a benign but remarkable haunting soon escalated into terrifying poltergeist activities. That makes this one of the most remarkable cases of paranormal activity in recent American history. The real names of the family involved has been kept a secret to protect their privacy. Joe Berini moved his family to his ancestral New England home in 1979. Joe's father had grown up in the house and several family members had died there. Initially, everything seemed normal, and he, his wife, Rose, and their children from her previous marriage, John and Daisy, settled in quite comfortably. Then, one night in May of 1979, Daisy heard a ghostly cry from a little girl. Every time the girl's voice was heard, something terrifying happened to the family. The very next day after hearing the voice the first time, their little girl Daisy nearly died on the operating table. She had went in for a routine operation. Something went very wrong during the operation and her heart nearly failed. The ghost was heard making the same cry on a June night. On that same night, Joe's grandmother had a stroke. In November, the ghostly mourning was heard just before his grandmother passed away. One night, Joe was awakened by the mourning ghost child, and as he turned in the bed, he saw that his wife, Rose, was choking in her sleep. He woke her up, and she said that she had been dreaming that her ex-husband was choking her to death. Investigating into the family history, Joe found that his father had a sister who died at the age of 5, and her name was Serena. Yet this was only the beginning. In the spring of 1981, the house was haunted by a little boy called Giorgio. He appeared in the hallways as an apparition of a milky white translucent boy. Investigation revealed that Giorgio was the younger brother of Joe's father, who died at the age of 9 also in that house, and he was the brother of Serena. One night, Giorgio spoke directly to Rose, saying, "Where do all the lonely people go? Where do I belong?" After Giorgio made his appearance, things were to get much worse. Terrifying poltergeist activities was to follow. As Joe noticed the spirit of the small boy more and more frequently, he started to inspect the area in where the boy appeared. One time, the spirit sat down on the floor. When Joe inspected the area where the boy was kneeling, he found a small religious medallion with a broken chain. When he asked his extended family about it, it was told that the chain belonged to his uncle Giorgio, and he died in the home by being burnt to death while getting ready for a communion. Giorgio spoke to Joe, and he accused Joe's other uncle Carlos, who was still alive, of taking something. No one, including Carlos, could figure out what it was. After this, Giorgio vanished. This was a new stage in the haunting. It had gone from warnings to confuse dead children to poltergeist activity because they witnessed a telephone being thrown through the air. And it was this activity that made the Berini's life hell over the next few months. The phone was the focal point of the activity to begin with. After a dozen times of being thrown around, Joe decided to call his parents and ask for their advice. However, whenever Giorgio's name was mentioned, the phone would cut out. After this and several other strange occurrences, they finally decided to get the Catholic Church involved and the house blessed. This seemed to get rid of Giorgio's spirit, but it was not the last encounter with something not of this world. Soon after, they saw a ghostly hunchbacked figure roaming the house. Then, the poltergeist activity increased and got much worse, including physical attacks on the family. Rose was almost strangled, levitated, and seemed to be the object of the malign hunchback spirit's anger. The girl Daisy's desk was also thrown down the stairs. The final straw for the family was when a kitchen knife was planted into a table. The Berinis took this as an ominous warning that their lives were in much more danger. After this, the Berini family finally relented and moved out of the house for over a month. During this time, they managed to convince the church to perform an exorcism on the home, which finally worked. The haunting had finally stopped and the exorcism had done the job. The Psychical Research Foundation had gotten wind of the haunting and turned up to investigate, but they found that the hauntings had stopped. However, they were able to corroborate a lot of the Berini family's story by interviewing church members, family, friends, and others who had witnessed this. So was it real? It was considered to be real by the Psychical Research Foundation, and that means it lends some validity to the story. However, we can't know if the Berini hauntings stopped. The Berini's real identity was never disclosed. It is also impossible to know if the house is still haunted, since no one knows exactly where that house is located.
If you don't complain.